Generally, when this man comes home, he can already smell from the staircase what his wife is cooking for dinner. If it's roasted chicken, if it's chips. But this evening, when he comes home, he doesn't smell anything. And he looks in the kitchen, there's nothing cooking on the stove. And he sees his wife sitting on the couch reading a book. And he says to her, "Oh, good evening, how are you? How was your day? And what's for supper tonight?" So she says, "Tonight for supper is an IKEA sandwich." And he thinks to himself, the IKEA sandwich? That sounds like some special Danish dish. And he says to her, "What is this IKEA sandwich?" he asks. She says, "This is, all the parts are in the fridge and you have to assemble it yourself." This is how it works in IKEA. A person who, let's say, wants to do up his house, he comes to IKEA, the showroom, and he sees the kitchen cabinets, and he decides he needs a new kitchen cabinet. He has a look, the different sizes, the different colors, and he writes down the number of the model that he wants. And then when he comes to pay, they give him such a flat pack. And he says, "What, this is a kitchen cabinet?" He says, "Yes, like you saw in the showroom, all the pieces are in the package, but you've got to assemble it yourself." Says in the Holy Sforim, this is the idea of Sefira Soima. On Leil HaSeder, on Leil HaPesach, we acquired all the 49 levels of Emunah. All the dargas of Emunah, the 49 levels we acquired on Leil HaSeder. We were so close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Emunah, the highest level of Emunah. But then comes the Sefira Soima. We have to assemble it alone. We have to take the lessons of Leil HaSeder, and each darga, every level, every stage, we have to build the emunah ourselves. This is the idea of Sefira Soima that says in this week's Parashat, "Usafartem lochem mimochros haShabbos sheva Shabbosos temimois tiyenu." Let's understand a little bit, how do we assemble this emunah? What's this avodah that we do on Yemei Sefira Soima, on the holy days of the Sefira Soima? Said in the Sforim, why do we bring the Emor? The Emor is a quantity, it's an amount that we bring to the Beis HaMikdash of Bali, or Emor of Bali, which we will bring on the Beis HaMikdash on the first day of Chol HaMoed. What is the idea? Why do we bring the Emor on the first day of Chol HaMoed? Says in the Holy Medrash, during the winter, a person sleeps throughout the winter. What does it mean? Beginning of the winter, a person has to plow the field and sow the field. But then says the Ribbono Shloilom, "Now let me take over, you can go to sleep." And the Ribbono Shloilom whips up a wind, Meishiv Ruchois, Umale Anonim, he forms the clouds, Umoirid Geshomim, and brings the rain. And then the crop begins to grow. And he gives taste and sweetness to the fruits. And then after the winter, a person comes to his field and he sees the crop, the produce, the fruits, such a tam, such a taste, such a sweetness. He says to the Ribbono Shloilom, "Mo'oshiv Lashem, what can I give you in return? You did so much for me." Generally, says a medrash, a worker works in the field, generally will take a half, 50%, a shlish, a third. What does the Ribbono Shloilom want for all the work that he did for your field throughout the winter? Says this is where we bring the Emor, Lirtzoinchem. If you want, said the Ribbono Shloilom, bring a Emor of barley, this quantity of barley on the first day of Chol HaMoed. Because by the Ribbono Shloilom, it's not the gold and silver. It's not what you bring, but it's a recognition, Mo'oshiv Lashem, to give, to return to Ribbono Shloilom, that before I even use the crop, before I cut the crop, or I take the fruit, the first thing is, I come to the Beis HaMikdash and I say, "Thank you, Hashem." I bring a Emor in recognition of appreciation to the Ribbono Shloilom. But asks the Holy Chinuch, why do we then have to bring it on Pesach, the first day of Chol HaMoed? Mimochros HaShabbos, it says in the Pasuk. The day after Leila Seder, the first day of Yom Tov, that we bring on Chol HaMoed the Omer. Why? What's the idea? Bring it after Pesach. What's the connection of Pesach to this idea of the Omer, bringing the Omer to the Beis HaMikdash? Says the Holy Chinuch, the Pshat is as follows. Because what did we say on the first day of Yom Tov? There was Leila Seder. On Leila Seder, we sat with our family and we were saying, Ribono Shel Olam, He made the 10 Makkos in Mitzrayim. Ribono Shel Olam, He's in control of the water, of the land, of the air, of the souls of the people. Makkos B'choros. And we end the Seder by saying, Echad mi yodeya, Echad ani yodeya, Echad Elokeinu shebashomayim u'v'oret. Ribono Shel Olam, He is our God in Shomayim, in the heavens, and Oret, in the land. So the next day, on the first day of Chol HaMoed, when a person looks at his field and he looks at the crops, he's not now going to say, you see how good I am at agriculture? You see this tractor that I invested from Germany that I bought, how good it is, how it made such a good work, and now look at what produce came. No, what does he say? He says, Ribono Shel Olam, you are Elokeinu shebashomayim u'v'oretz. Not just in Mitzrayim, you brought the miracles in Mitzrayim, but in my field I see the Ribono Shel Olam. I see you, when I see the crops, I see how the Ribono Shel Olam, how did it come? Hashem brought the rain, the wind, and He brought the sun, and all together this brought about the nisim that Hashem brought. In my field I see the Ribono Shel Olam. So the Omer is bringing the lesson of Leila Seder, of Yetzias Mitzrayim, of the 10 plagues, and realizing and living it in our daily lives, in our sodeh, in our business, in our health, in our zivugim. We see Hashem now, how Hashem brings nisim to every yid in the way in his life. That is to bring, to build on Leila Seder through the Omer. And that's why it says, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso L'Olam Voed, is how many letters? 49 letters. Because it's days of Kabbalas Oil Malchus Shomayim. Days when we have realized Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Everything is by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We see Emunah. These are the days of the Omer, to see Emunah and to thank Hashem for so much that He does for us. Now we look out for Hashem in our lives, in our day-to-day lives. So we may not have the Omer to bring to the Beis HaMikdash, but when we have a fruit and we see how this fruit, Hashem was working a whole winter to bring about the fruit till it grew, and the rain and the sun and the earth and the vitamin that's in the fruit. We don't have a Beis HaMikdash to bring a Omer to say thank you Hashem for all the food that we got. But we can take a few seconds and say a brocha, Baruch Ato Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam, Boirei Peri Ha'etz. When a person says a brocha, he's showing appreciation to the Ribono Shel Olam for the food and all that took place to bring about this fruit that we are now about to eat. And it says, this is a skula, that when a person says a brocha, when a person says he becomes misporich, when a person blesses Hashem, he becomes blessed. And that's what it says by the Omer. Hashem said, bring the Omer, because then you will have blessing in your produce. Because when somebody recognizes the Ribono Shel Olam and thanks Hashem, then Hashem will give him many, many more brocha. May we be zoicha bezras Hashem. We got from Lag BaOmer Toiv, 17 days. These are Toiv, Yomim Toivim. 17 days from Lag BaOmer until Shavuos. We'll be zoicha to look for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our lives and see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought nisim not only in Mitzrayim, but in our fields, in our business, and in our day-to-day lives. Thank you very much for listening, and have a wonderful Shabbos.